This is a trip we will never forget. My name is Kong Mayat. I am from Myanmar. I live with my wife and my daughter. My wife's name is Momo. My daughter's name is La Woon. She is 10 years old. We are a small family. We love each other very much. We enjoy spending time together. One day, we decided to travel. We wanted to see a new place. We wanted to learn something new. We chose Mexico. It is a beautiful country. It is far from Myanmar. We were excited. It was our first time flying so far. We packed our clothes and got ready. La Woon helped us pack. She was very happy. She smiled and asked, "What will we see there?" We told her about a special festival. It is called Dia de los Muertos. In English, it means Day of the Dead. She looked surprised. Day of the Dead, she said. Is it scary? We smiled. We told her, no, it's not scary. It is beautiful. We flew on a big airplane. It took many hours. But we were happy. When we arrived, the air felt different. The sky was bright. People were smiling everywhere. The streets were full of colors. We saw flowers, lights, and decorations. There were skulls, but they were not scary. They were colorful. Some were painted pink, blue, and gold. Some had flowers on them. We saw people wearing face paint. They painted their faces like skulls. But they looked happy. They danced in the street. They sang songs. Children wore costumes. La Woon's eyes were wide. She looked all around. She asked many questions. Momo explained things to her. I told her stories I had read. We were learning together. Everywhere we looked, there were candles. There were pictures of family members. People were placing food, drinks, and flowers near the pictures. I asked a man, "What is this for?" He said, "It's for my mother. She passed away." He was smiling. He said, "She loved this food. I bring it to remember her." That touched my heart. I thought about my own mother. I missed her very much. Momo held my hand. She said, "This is love." I nodded. We walked through the festival. It was warm and peaceful. No one was sad. We saw sugar skulls. They are called calaveras. They are sweet and pretty. We saw orange flowers everywhere. They are called marigolds. They are the flower of this festival. The smell of food was in the air. People cooked tacos and sweetbread. They shared food with each other. We tried the food. It was delicious. La Woon loved the sweetbread. We watched a big parade. People wore bright clothes. They danced and waved. It was loud and happy. Drums were beating. People were clapping. Momo took pictures. I took videos. La Woon drew what she saw in her notebook. She drew a skull with flowers. She wrote, "This is not scary. It is kind." I smiled when I saw her drawing. I knew she was learning something important. She was feeling something deep. That night, we sat together at the hotel. We looked at the pictures. We talked about the day. I said, this is not just a trip. This is a memory. Momo agreed. We hugged Lawoon. She said, I want to come again. We laughed. I thought about family. I thought about love. I thought about time. This festival is not about death. It is about love. It is about remembering. Even when people are gone, we can feel them. We can think of them. We can smile because of them. I thought of Myanmar. I thought of our home. I missed my family there. But I felt warm inside. Because family is not only near. Family is also in our hearts. We thanked Mexico. We thanked the people. We thanked the culture. It gave us something special. It gave us joy. It gave us peace. That night, I looked at Momo and Lawoon. I said, this is a trip we will never forget. And I meant it. We flew to Mexico for a new experience. We woke up early in the morning. The sun was not up yet. Our bags were ready. Lawoon was sleepy but smiling. Momo made warm tea. I checked our passports one last time. We took a taxi to the airport. The streets were quiet. The city was still asleep. At the airport, everything was busy. People walked fast. There were long lines. We waited in line. We gave our passports to the staff. They gave us our tickets. Lawoon looked out the window. She saw big airplanes. She said, "Wow." Momo held her hand. I carried our bags. We walked to the gate. It was time to board. We walked through the tunnel. The airplane was huge. Inside, the seats were soft. We sat together. Momo sat by the window. The plane started to move. Lawoon held my hand tightly. Her eyes were big. Then the plane went up. We flew into the sky. We saw clouds and blue light. It was our first time flying this far. We were flying from Myanmar to Mexico. It would take many hours. We watched movies. We ate food on the plane. Lawoon listened to music. Sometimes she slept. Sometimes she asked questions. She was excited and curious. I looked at the map on the screen. It showed our plane flying over many countries. It was amazing. We were tired, but happy. We knew this trip was special. It was not just a holiday. It was a chance to learn. It was a chance to grow. It was a family memory. After many hours, the pilot said, "We will land soon." We looked out the window. We saw lights below. Mexico looked big. The city was full of lights. The night sky was clear. We landed safely. Everyone clapped. The plane stopped. We got our bags. We walked through the airport. Everything was new. People spoke Spanish. Signs looked different. The air smelled different. But we felt welcome. People smiled at us. They were kind. We took a taxi to our hotel. The driver played music. It was soft and warm. We looked out the window. We saw decorations on the streets. There were flowers and lights. The driver said, "Welcome to Dia de los Muertos." We smiled and said, "Thank you." We reached our hotel. The room was small but nice. It had soft beds and warm lights. We washed our faces. We brushed our teeth. We lay down to rest. La Woon said, "I can't believe we are here." Momo kissed her forehead. I turned off the light. Before we slept, I looked at my family. I was proud. I was happy. We were far from home. But we were together. That made it perfect. This was the start of something new. A new land. A new story. We flew to Mexico for a new experience. And now, it had begun. We were ready. A festival about the dead. But full of life. When we first heard the name Day of the Dead, we were surprised. We thought it would be a sad event. We thought it was about crying and silence. But when we saw it in Mexico, it was not sad at all. It was colorful, beautiful, and full of life. It made us smile. There were flowers everywhere. The flowers were orange and yellow. They looked like little suns. People wore bright clothes. Some painted their faces like skulls. But they were not scary, they were fun and kind. We saw a small girl with her face painted like a cat. She danced with her parents. They laughed together. We heard music in the streets. It was happy music with drums and guitars. People clapped and sang. La Woon looked around with big eyes. She said, "This is not scary at all." Momo nodded and smiled. Everywhere we walked, we saw color. There were paper decorations hanging in the air. They moved with the wind. We saw candles on tables. They were soft and warm. Many people stood near them and whispered kind words. Then we saw something called an ofrenda. It is a table to remember someone who has passed away. Families put photos and food on it. We saw pictures of grandparents, uncles, and even pets. We saw favorite foods, drinks, and toys. It was a way to say, "We still love you." Momo said softly, "This is beautiful." I said, "Yes, they are remembering with joy." La Woon said, "Can we make one too?" There was a woman making flowers from paper. She showed La Woon how to fold the petals. La Woon tried it with her small hands. People shared sweet bread called pan de muerto. It tasted soft and a little sweet. We each took a bite. There was no sadness on people's faces. There was love. There was pride. We met a family at the park. They had face paint and food. They offered us some fruit and said, "Welcome." I said, "We are from Myanmar." They smiled and said, "Today, we are all family." That made my heart warm. Momo took many pictures. La Woon danced with other children. I watched and felt lucky. There were skulls made of sugar. They were called sugar skulls. They were bright with colors and names written on them. La Woon said, "Can I have one?" We bought her a pink one. She held it like treasure. Even though the festival was about death, it felt like life. It was full of memories. It was full of love. It taught us something new. Remembering does not have to be sad. It can be happy, warm, and full of color. We were not afraid anymore. We felt safe and welcome. The people of Mexico were kind. Momo said, "I wish my mother could see this." I said, she would love it. La Woon hugged her. That night, we talked about our family in Myanmar. We remembered our grandparents. We talked about what they loved. We said, thank you, in our hearts. It felt peaceful. It felt right. This festival showed us a new way to love. A new way to remember. A new way to celebrate life. We came to see something new. We found something deep and beautiful. We will never forget it. Dia de los Muertos is not about death. It is about love that never ends. It is about remembering with joy. And that, to us, is full of life. La Woon asked, why do they paint skulls? As we walked through the streets of Mexico, La Woon saw many skulls. They were everywhere, on tables, on faces, on signs. She held my hand and looked up at me. Papa, she asked, why do they paint skulls? I smiled at her question. It was a good question. We were not used to seeing skulls like this. In our country, skulls usually mean something scary. But here, it was different. The skulls were bright and colorful. They had flowers, hearts, and shining decorations. Some were pink, some were blue, and some had glitter. They are not scary? La Woon asked again. I said, no, not scary. They are full of love. I bent down and said, in Mexico, skulls are a way to say we remember you. I pointed to one with a name on the forehead. This skull is for someone they loved. Momo joined us and said, skulls here are called calaveras. She explained that they are part of the Dia de los Muertos. It means Day of the Dead. But the day is not sad. It is happy. It is a day to remember family and friends who have passed away. They are not afraid of death here, I told La Woon. They respect it. And they celebrate the people they love. La Woon looked again at the skulls. This time she smiled. They're beautiful, she said. We saw children with skull face paint. Their cheeks had flowers. Their eyes were circles like sunbursts. One little boy waved at La Woon. He had a flower crown and a skull on his cheek. She waved back. We walked past a table full of sugar skulls. They were made of sweet sugar and had names written on them. Some even had tiny hats and gold teeth. A lady at the table saw us. She said kindly, do you want to try painting one? La Woon said, yes, please. She picked a white sugar skull. The lady gave her some colors. Red, green, purple, and gold. La Woon painted carefully. She put little hearts on the cheeks. She made a small flower on the chin. When she finished, she showed it to us. This one is for Grandpa, she said. To remember him with love. Momo touched her shoulder. He would be proud of you, she said. I felt my eyes get wet. It was not about fear. It was about love. It was about keeping someone close even after they're gone. We saw more people painting skulls. Some were making art. Others were praying. Even the music spoke of joy. It was slow but happy. It made us feel warm inside. We stood in front of a big altar. It had many skulls on it. Each one was different. There were pictures of grandparents and children. There were candles and flowers too. It looked like a garden of memories. La Woon held her sugar skull. I understand now, she said. Skulls are not scary here. I nodded. Yes, they are beautiful gifts. Momo said, they help us say, I love you, even after goodbye. We took a photo with the skulls. We smiled with them. It was a special moment. That night, La Woon put her skull near her bed. Can I take it back to Myanmar? She asked. Of course, we said. She looked at it again. So I can always remember, she whispered. Then she closed her eyes to sleep. That day, she learned something important. So did we. Love does not end and memories live forever. The streets were covered in color. The sun went down, but the streets became brighter. Lights turned on all around us. We saw colors everywhere. Orange marigold flowers were on the road. They were in baskets, on steps, and on big altars. The smell was sweet and warm. We had never seen so many marigolds before. In Myanmar, we use flowers for special days. But in Mexico, they use marigolds for remembering the dead. Momo said, they believe marigolds guide the spirits. I looked down at the petals on the road. It was like a golden path. Music played in every corner. Some songs were fast, and some were slow. But all were full of life. People were dancing in the streets. Their clothes were full of color: red, green, yellow, and purple. Some had big hats and some wore ribbons. La Woon clapped her hands. She said, Can I dance too? We smiled and said, Of course. She joined a small group of children. They were dancing in a circle. She laughed and turned around with them. A woman came to us with a smile. She gave us candles. She said, Light this for your loved ones. We lit the candles together. One for my father. One for Momo's mother. One for the people we miss. The candles made a soft glow. It felt peaceful. It felt like love was in the air. We kept walking down the street. Every house had something special. Some had lights. Some had food. Some had pictures of family. One house had a big skeleton at the door. But it was smiling, not scary. It wore a colorful dress and flowers on its head. La Woon said, It looks happy. And she was right. Even the skeletons looked joyful. We heard singing from a group of people. Their voices were strong and sweet. We stopped and listened. They sang about life. They sang about love. And they sang about remembering. A little girl gave us some bread. It was called pan de muerto, bread of the dead. It was soft, sweet, and warm. We said thank you. She smiled and ran back to her family. We all tasted the bread. It was delicious. All around us, people were painting faces. Some had skull faces. Some had flower faces. But all were smiling. La Woon asked if she could get her face painted. A kind woman said yes. She painted one side like a skull and the other with flowers. La Woon looked in the mirror. I love it, she said. She looked like part of the festival. We took a photo together, Momo, La Woon, and me. Behind us were candles and flowers. It was a moment we would never forget. We sat for a while and watched the people. Everyone was kind. Everyone was full of joy. Even though the festival was about death, it felt like life. The lights, the sounds, the colors, everything was beautiful. It was like walking in a dream. We held hands and walked slowly. None of us wanted to leave. The streets of Mexico were full of heart. That night, we talked about what we saw. It was amazing, Momo said. I want to remember this forever, Lawun added. I looked around one last time. The marigolds, the lights, the music, it all felt magical. It was a night full of love, memory, and celebration. The altars touched our hearts. As we walked through the town, we began to see something special. On every corner, in every home, and in many shops, there were altars. In Mexico, they are called ofrendas. Each ofrenda was beautiful and full of meaning. Some were small, and some were very big. But all of them had candles, food, flowers, and photos. The candles were soft and warm. They made the faces in the photos shine. It felt peaceful and full of love. Momo whispered, "These people are remembering their families." I nodded. It felt very emotional. Some altars had toys. Some had drinks and favorite foods. We saw bread, fruit, coffee, and even small bottles of soda. Lawun asked, "Why do they put food here?" I said, "Because they believe the spirits come back. The food is for them." Every ofrenda told a story. We saw a woman's photo with a cup of tea. We saw a man's picture with a guitar next to it. People remembered their loved ones with care. They wanted to give them comfort. It was their way of saying, "We still love you." One altar had many flowers. Another had a football jersey. Each item was chosen with love. Some had sugar skulls with names written on them. Some had letters and notes. We could not read all the words, but we felt the love. A young boy came with a photo in his hand. He gave it to his mother. She placed it gently on their family altar. Momo looked at me and smiled. "This is so beautiful," she said. "I feel close to my own mother," she added softly. I thought of my father. I thought of the things he loved. I wanted to build an ofrenda for him, too. We stood quietly in front of one big altar. It had many candles, a cross, and a bowl of rice. It looked like the family was honoring someone very important. Lawun held my hand. She said, "Can we make something like this at home?" I said, "Yes, we can remember our loved ones in our own way." We saw a group of people standing together. They were talking about the person in the photo. They smiled and laughed as they remembered good times. It was not sad. It was full of joy. The love was stronger than the pain. The marigolds were everywhere again. Their orange petals covered the steps of the altar. They looked like little suns. We learned that marigolds help guide the spirits. Their smell and color show the way home. It is part of the tradition. One woman gave us a small candle. She said, "Light it for someone you love." We said thank you. We lit the candle and thought of our families in Myanmar. We remembered the grandparents, uncles, and aunts who were no longer here. It felt special to honor them in this place. Lawun closed her eyes for a moment. Then she said, "I feel like they can hear us." We smiled and hugged her. It was quiet for a while. We just stood and looked. The altars touched our hearts deeply. They reminded us that family love never dies. Even after someone is gone, their memory stays. The ofrendas help keep that love alive. As we left, I looked back one more time. The lights of the candles flickered gently. It was like the spirits were smiling. That night, we talked about the altars. Momo said, "I understand this festival now." I said, "Yes, it is not about death. It is about love." We went to sleep with full hearts. The Day of the Dead taught us something beautiful, and we would never forget it. We ate the bread of the dead. One morning in Mexico, we walked past a bakery. The smell of something sweet filled the air. We followed the smell. Inside the bakery, there were round loaves of bread. They were soft, golden, and had shapes on top. A sign said, "Pan de Muerto." Pan de Muerto means bread of the dead. It is made only during the Day of the Dead. It is for remembering the people we love. Momo picked one up. She said, "It smells so good." I smiled and said, "Let's try it." We bought 3 loaves. One for each of us. They were warm and fresh. We sat outside under a tree. We broke the bread and tasted it. It was soft, sweet, and had a little orange flavor. La Woon took a bite and smiled. This is yummy," she said. "Can we take some home?" We laughed. "Maybe we can ask if they have a box," I said. She nodded with big eyes. The bread had sugar on top. It melted in our mouths. It made us feel happy. I asked the baker about it. He said, "The shape on top is like bones." We looked again and saw the special pattern. He told us, "This bread is for sharing with both the living and the dead." That surprised us. It was a beautiful idea. People place the bread on altars. They believe spirits come and enjoy the smell. It is part of the offering. The baker gave La Woon a small bread for free. "For the little visitor," he said with a smile. She thanked him in English. Back at our hotel, we ate more of the bread. It made us feel warm inside. It reminded us of family meals at home in Myanmar. Momo said, "Even though this is new, it feels familiar." I agreed. It feels like love. We talked about how food connects people. This bread was more than a snack. It was a symbol of love and memory. We took pictures of the bread. We wanted to remember the moment. We also wanted to share the story with friends at home. That night, we saw people carrying pan de muerto to altars. They placed it with fruit, candles, and drinks. It was part of their family's tradition. La Woon asked, "Can we do this in Myanmar?" I said, "Yes. We can honor our family too, in our own way." She smiled. Before sleeping, we ate the last piece of bread. It was soft and sweet. It tasted like kindness. I looked at Momo and said, "This trip is teaching us many things." She nodded. It's more than a holiday. It's a lesson in love. Even now, I can remember the taste of pan de muerto. It was sweet like sugar. And sweet like family. This simple bread became a special part of our journey. We did not expect to feel so connected. But we did. And La Woon never forgot. She still says, "Remember the bread of the dead?" We all laugh. The Day of the Dead gave us memories we will always carry. And pan de muerto gave us a taste of tradition. A sweet memory we will keep forever. Momo said, it feels like family is still here. The sun was going down in Mexico. We were walking through the festival. Candles and flowers lit the streets. We stopped near an altar on the sidewalk. There was a picture of an old woman. There were candles, bread, flowers, and fruit. Momo stood still for a moment. She looked at the picture. Then, she closed her eyes quietly. I looked at her face. She had a soft smile. But her eyes were a little wet. She whispered, "It feels like family is still here." I held her hand. I knew she was thinking of someone. Later, she told me, "I'm thinking of my mother." Momo's mother passed away many years ago. She missed her very much. This festival made her feel close to her mother again. "It's like she is here," Momo said. "I can feel her love." The music was soft. People were lighting candles. The smell of flowers was everywhere. We sat down on a bench. Momo looked at the sky. "This is not a sad day," she said. "No," I said. "It's full of love." She nodded slowly. She told La Woon, "Do you know why we see so many flowers?" La Woon said, "To remember?" Momo said, "Yes. To remember with happiness." We walked past another altar. It had toys, candy, and a photo of a child. "Even little ones are remembered," Momo said. She put her hands together and said a short prayer. It was quiet, but full of heart. She said nothing more, but I understood. That night, she told me a story. It was about her mother cooking rice in the morning. "I can still smell it sometimes," she said. I listened carefully. She smiled. "I think my mother would like this festival." I said, "Maybe she is with us now." Momo looked at me and nodded. "Yes. I feel her here." The next day, we visited more altars. We lit a candle together. We thought of our loved ones in Myanmar. We told La Woon, even if someone is not here, their love stays. She looked at the candle. "Like light," she said. Momo hugged her. "That's right. Love is like light. It does not go away." The festival helped us feel peace. It helped us feel connection. It helped us remember. Momo was quiet, but calm. She held my hand tightly. "Thank you for bringing us here," she said. That evening, we wrote a note and placed it on a community altar. It said, "We remember our loved ones from Myanmar." It felt good to write it. We stayed and watched others place notes too. Some cried. Some smiled. This festival taught us something deep. People may leave this world, but they don't leave our hearts. Momo said, "My mother taught me love. And I still feel it." Her words stayed in my mind. Later, back at the hotel, Momo looked at our pictures from the day. She said, "This is one of the most beautiful days of my life." I agreed. We are far from home, but we feel close to family. She smiled. That is the magic of this place. Even La Woon seemed to understand. "I want to remember this forever," she said. We promised we would. Momo's heart was full. And so was mine. The Day of the Dead gave us something we did not expect: peace. Love does not end. Family stays with us. In memories, in stories, and in festivals like this. Momo said it best, it feels like family is still here. And now, we carry that feeling forever. We joined the parade. The sun was bright, and the music was loud. We could hear drums and guitars from far away. People were walking toward the main street. "There's a parade today," someone said. We followed the sound. We didn't know what to expect. When we reached the street, we were amazed. So many people were wearing costumes. Some had skull masks, some had their faces painted. Many people wore flower crowns. The flowers were orange, pink, yellow, and red. The colors made the street look alive. La Woon said, "Can we join too?" We looked at each other. Momo smiled and said, "Yes, let's do it." There was a small booth where people could paint their faces. We sat down, and a friendly woman helped us. She painted white and black on our faces, just like sugar skulls. La Woon laughed when she saw her face in the mirror. "I look funny," she said. I laughed too. Momo looked beautiful with flower paint near her eyes. I said, "You look amazing." She smiled and said, "So do you." We wore paper flower crowns. They were soft and light. Now we really looked like part of the celebration. A man playing a big drum walked by. Behind him were dancers with colorful skirts. They moved their feet fast and smiled at the crowd. We started walking with the group. People were clapping, singing, and dancing. The music was loud, but it felt happy. La Woon danced with small steps. She held Momo's hand and spun in a circle. I took a photo. It was a perfect moment. We didn't know the songs, but we clapped along. The beat was easy to follow. It made our hearts feel light. Children had small lanterns shaped like skulls. Some people gave out candies. A woman gave La Woon a sugar skull made of chocolate. She held it carefully. "Can I eat it later?" she asked. "Of course," we said. There were people from many countries. We heard Spanish, English, and even a little French. But everyone smiled in the same language. We felt like part of one big family. It didn't matter that we were from Myanmar. We were welcome. Momo said, "This is more than a parade. It's a celebration of love." I nodded and said, "Yes, and we are part of it." The parade moved through the streets slowly. People danced in the front. Others followed, waving flags and holding candles. A group of boys wore skeleton costumes. They did a small dance with sticks. The crowd clapped for them. La Woon asked, "Can we have costumes next year?" We smiled and said, "Maybe." It was nice to dream about coming again. The parade reached a big plaza. There was a stage with singers and dancers. We sat and watched the show. One dancer wore a dress with skulls on it. She spun around many times. Everyone cheered. The music made us feel brave and free. We didn't think about school or work. We just lived in the moment. We took pictures together. Face paint, flower crowns, big smiles, it was perfect. These pictures would stay in our hearts. As the sun went down, the candles began to glow. It was warm and beautiful. The parade was ending, but the memory stayed. Momo hugged me. "Thank you for bringing us here," she said. I said, "I will never forget this." La Woon leaned on Momo's shoulder. She looked sleepy but happy. "Best parade ever," she whispered. We walked home slowly. The music still played in our heads, and our hearts were full of joy. That day, we did not just watch the parade, we became part of it. We danced, we laughed, and we celebrated life. And that is why we will always remember this beautiful day in Mexico. This festival made us think about our own culture. As we walked through the colorful streets of Mexico, I thought about our own festivals in Myanmar. We have Thadingyat, the Festival of Lights, and Thingyen, the Water Festival. Both are full of joy, family, and special traditions. Momo said, even though the celebrations are different, the feelings are the same. I agreed. Both places honor family and show love in their own ways. La Woon looked around and asked, do people in Myanmar remember their family like this? I smiled and said, yes, we do. We also have ways to remember and celebrate our loved ones. Seeing the altars, flowers, and music made us feel connected. Different cultures, but the same heart caring for family and keeping memories alive. We talked about how our family celebrates together. Lighting candles, giving thanks, sharing food, these small acts bring us closer. This trip showed us how people around the world share love and respect for their families. It made me proud of my own culture too. I told Momo, it is beautiful to see different ways to honor the past. She nodded and said, and we can learn from them all. La Woon smiled and said, one day, I want to teach my friends about our festivals in Myanmar. We promised to share stories about our culture with new friends we meet. This special day in Mexico helped us remember that family and love are the most important things, no matter where we are. We felt grateful for the chance to experience something new and see the beauty in other people's traditions. Our hearts grew bigger with understanding and respect for different cultures. And in that moment, we knew family is a universal language that connects us all. We took photos, but more than that, we took feelings. We took many photos during our trip. Momo took pictures of the colorful flowers and smiling faces. La Woon liked to take pictures with her new friends. I took photos of the beautiful altars and the bright lights. But the pictures are not the most important thing we brought home. The feelings we have inside us are more special. We feel joy when we remember the happy moments. We feel love because we shared this trip as a family. We feel thankful for being together and learning new things. Sometimes, we talk about the music, the dancing, and the food. The memories make us smile and help us feel close even when we are far from Mexico. We think about the kindness of the people we met. We feel respect for their traditions and their family love. When we look at our photos, we remember not just the images but the feelings too. Those feelings are like treasures in our hearts. They remind us to love, to remember, and to be grateful. We still tell our friends and family about this trip. We say it was not just a vacation but a lesson about life and family. This trip will stay with us forever. One trip, one lesson, celebrate life, remember love. Our trip to Dia de los Muertos was more than just travel. It was a special lesson for our family. We learned that remembering people who have passed away can be happy and full of love. It is not always sad. The colorful flowers, the music, and the smiles showed us how life and love are connected. We will never forget this beautiful festival and the feelings it gave us. If you want to learn English with real stories, real feelings, and real lessons, please join us here at Easy English Official. We will share more stories like this to help you learn and enjoy English.